Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA. Let's talk about what has happened to the stock, what we can expect moving forward, and all of that good stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed, please don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you do enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts on the charts, etc. Well, I do share my thoughts with my members every single day the market is open. That link is down below in the description of the video, where again, constantly sharing my thoughts, post updates, mainly on Tesla stocks, sometimes other stocks as well. For the $3 tier, which is the first tier. The second tier, of course, for $5 is everything in the first tier, plus NVIDIA daily updates as well in the group. Again, in the mornings, sometimes, the afternoon, of course, closer to market close. Whenever there's something worth sharing that I think is, worth mentioning, well, it's there pretty much right away, especially in the mornings. But nonetheless, jumping into it, NVIDIA, the pretty respectable day, actually closing the day almost 3% on the day, which you can argue is more or less in line with QQQ, but arguably slight outperformance as well. But now NVIDIA is on an extra interesting spot. So yeah, so how do I explain this? So NVIDIA is in a peculiar position. Now again, to me, like I said, I did fully exit my position on Friday. And this is where it starts getting very interesting, because it, in my opinion, has entered pretty much make or break it, right? This is make it or break it. I don't see a very obvious direction. This one is gonna need some time to cook in the oven, I guess you can say, right? Because right now, it generally can go either way. I'll give you all the levels, of course, to get an idea as to what I'm looking for. But it's right in this, it's like in the middle of the war between the bulls and the bears. It's like dead smack right in the center. So let's go over it, right? What do I mean by that? So let's talk about the more bullish perspective first, right? What's the bullish perspective? Well, the bullish perspective is I actually do like the fact that on the 4-hour chart or the daily chart, whatever, it did take this area that was supposed to be and was a resistance several times, whether it's here, and of course in the past was a massive support, and it did break past it on the 4-hour. I like that, right? What I don't like about it is the fact that it's doing this on consistently lower and lower volume. Remember that Wyckoff distribution theory I mentioned on Friday? Check it out if you haven't on Friday's video. Even lower volume, the volume continues to decrease on these decent moves to the upside. That's a little bit eyebrow raising. Like, what's going on there? Why is the volume decreasing this much? Like, this has like dead cat vibes almost to it because of the volume decrease. And we actually, I just realized this, we almost perfectly touched the 618 Fibonacci level. So that'll be the more bearish side. I'm not gonna go over just yet. But again, the bullish side is the fact that we did break past those levels. So, oh, my throat's a little parched. Give me a second, sorry. So the thing that you want to look for as a bull from the bullish perspective is, on the next pullback, because there will be one, you want NVIDIA to pretty much hold, honestly, 127/128. You don't want to go too much lower than that, right? You want to, on the next pullback, pretty much hold as low as 127/128. As long as those levels hold, this has potential. This definitely has potential, right? On top of that, you also want to hold those levels because that was last week's close, right? What was last week's close? Last week's close was 129.84, right? You want to also have a green week this week, right? That would be the ideal scenario as well for NVIDIA moving forward, because that would give more validity, I should say, to this massive weekly bullish engulfing candle. So there's definitely some work to do for the bulls here, but that's what I would be looking for, like from a bullish perspective, right? You want to be looking for the next pullback to hold about 128-ish, of course. Yeah, and that's I mean, it's really that simple, right? Ultimately, it's not that difficult from there, right? That's what the bulls want to see, right? Because again, you're pretty much going to come back in here, and as long as we can turn this area back into support, like we did here, right? And obviously resistance back here, now support, hopefully. That is the ideal scenario. That would be the ideal scenario, and then from there, you can potentially push up even higher. That is the ideal scenario. Now, that's the bullish perspective. What is the bearish perspective? Well, this is where the bearish perspective really starts getting interesting as well. So we did break past some good levels that the bears should have defended, but they didn't. But now we're at probably the most important level, right? And why is that? Well, we're still technically, despite the lower end of the 130s being breached by the bulls, we still have this level that we rejected at, this white line up here, which we did obviously in the past get rejected at several times. I'm gonna remove this bounce regression for now, right? This level right here, right? Pretty much exactly around the mid 130s, right? We got rejected and supported here many times, and today we did show some slight rejection signs. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the fact that we're rejecting right at this massive trend line. If I zoom out like this, you can see, right? This massive trend line right here, right? This one here. It acted as a support many times in the past, right? Whether this is where it got it initiated, whether it's here, whether it's pretty much around here, whether it's here, this was essentially that massive channel that we were in, right? and we broke down below it, right? We broke down below it, and now we're essentially right back up to retesting that trend line. Again, that also, of course, before was massive areas of support. Now, in theory, acting as a potential resistance. So that's interesting. Okay, so let's see how we react to that overall. I mean, okay, let's see. But as if that wasn't enough, again, this has dead cat vibes to it, right? And the reason this has dead cat vibes to it is because, well, first of all, we ended up making a lower low, right? Remember how before I was mentioning that lower low we made? I think it was here. Yeah, this lower low, and then we had that push up, and then essentially this break, this massive gap down we had that essentially broke this massive consolidation to the downside, ultimately is bearish structure, right? That is unfortunately bearish structure. The bulls obviously can fix it, but there still needs to be some more work to be done, right? And the reason this looks like a dead cat is two reasons. Number one, three reasons, I guess. Lower low, right? Decreasing volume on this run up. That's typical of a dead cat in the opposite direction. Same idea. If you have like a massive rally and then you start doing this in your little bull flag on decreasing volume, that's textbook bull flag, right? Massive run up on higher volume, slower volume bull flag, as you kind of descend back downwards, and then you break out back on higher volume. That's like very textbook of a bull flag. This is pretty much the exact opposite, right? Obviously, this is not necessarily a bull flag, but the idea is very similar, and this is pretty much the opposite. And as if that wasn't enough, that's reason number two. And number three, well, it's the Fibonacci's. Take the Fibonacci from that, recent swing high that we had up here before the drop to the recent swing low we had here. And look at that. It's absolutely to perfection right at that 618 Fibonacci, which is one of the most common retracement levels. And we retrace almost to perfection right into it, which also lines up with this trendline resistance. So in other words, the bulls absolutely want to be breaking above, decently above today's high, right? Which is about 135. The bulls absolutely want to get back above the mid 130s. And that's going to be the main level to look at, right? So let's see how this actually plays out. I mean, RSI is starting to enter oversold territory. MACD flip bullish, which is good, but the RSI now close to, very, very close to oversold territories as well. But again, with the decrease in volume on this pretty aggressive push up from the lows that we had at pretty much all the way down here at 113. Like NVIDIA, if you somehow snipe the low and let's say you sold at the top today, that's almost a 20% return on about a week and a few days worth of trading of, actual trading days. But again, the fact that it pushed up this aggressively, but on just pretty much lower and lower and lower every day, pretty much lower and lower volume, right into a Fibonacci retracement on what looks to be like a dead cat, because it obviously ultimately broke structure since it did ultimately make that lower low. That's where the kind of conflicting, situation lies. Is this just a dead cat, or did the bulls actually break past important levels? We come back, retest this kind of 128 rough-ish level, turn it back into support, and then maybe we do break past this, trend line and we move up even higher. This is where, we need to see how the stock reacts. This is not, I don't see a very obvious situation here. For instance, back on this day over here, when I saw that bearish engulfing, yeah, I didn't expect it to gap down this hard, obviously, but I definitely expected a gap down. I definitely expected a move to the downside, right? That was a little bit obvious. Or when we were all the way down here and we were, very oversold on the RSI, we were at massive trendline retests, massive supports, we were oversold on pretty much every band you can look at, whether it's the band's regression or the Bollinger Bands, right? Oversold on both. Yeah, okay, that was more obvious. We're probably closer to a bottom than not. Now we're kind of dead smack in the center. And as if that wasn't enough on the weekly time frame, if I delete this for now, you can see, I'm going to remove that and I want to take this off for now. Right, that's kind of market bias type bands regression line right here. You can see this is the first time it's actually turned red in a very, very long time. If I zoom out, you can see here it's been green the entire time for a very long time, I might add, and it hasn't been red ever since this kind of correction it had all the way back here about we'll say 2.5, closer to 3 years, I would say, right? It hasn't been red on the weekly ever since then. It's been green the whole time up until now, and the weekly we are coming back into it as a potential, I should say, again, keyword potential resistance. So again, we're in a situation here where unfortunately there's no obvious answer right now. We need to see how the stock behaves. I personally need to see how it reacts at these pretty crucial levels that it's at right now before getting confidence one way or the other, because at the moment, if I had to pick a direction from here, I do unfortunately lean slightly bearish until proven otherwise. And the bulls are they're trying, but it's just, you know, I don't know. For me personally, I need to see a bit more, right? Because this is do or die. Either the bulls come back in and they save the stock and it's good to go, and I think all-time high is absolutely, or this ends up being an absolutely astronomical bearish or bull trap, and you know, we could go decently lower from here. Like we can easily from here potentially revisit, you know, 105, 107, something like that, right? Everyone back here thought that was going to happen. Now I'm sure if you ask everyone up here, I bet you no one thinks it's going to happen up here, right? Everyone was scared here, and now everyone's probably excited here, right? So you know, we're doing one of those things again, right? We're doing one of those things again where everyone's scared as the stock is falling, but then everyone's excited as the stock has rallied 20% from the lows. And that's probably what's going to be happening, right? People are going to be excited. I'm sure people in the comments will be telling me I'm crazy, because everyone's going to be telling me we're going to all-time highs. I mean, yeah, we could absolutely, but we're not in a situation where it's, in all honesty, clear in either direction. I need to see more. But yeah, I am cautious. I am very cautious here, I would add. I don't have any positions. I'm not short. I'm not long. I'm on the sidelines for NVIDIA right now. I made my money on the stock, you know, made my monies last week. I'm happy with what I got. Yeah, I mean, let's just see how it forms, man. Let's just see how it forms. It's a very, very peculiar position right now. It's very important that the stock reacts correctly here for the bulls or the bears, because it's about to do that. I think I'll just need a couple more days, and then we'll get a good direction. But in terms of options flow, yeah, all over the place. But the bulls absolutely dominating over the bears, absolutely no questions asked. And of course, the most bullish confirmed flow throughout the day, close to 50 million for NVIDIA. So let's see how it plays out, guys. Very interesting spot. It is a spot that, in my opinion, not financial advice, does require a little bit of patience. Let the stock tell us what it wants to do, because right now it's not for sure telling me. In fact, it's arguably telling me this is a potential true dead cat bearish retracement, and you know, we could go lower from here. But at the very least, I'd want to see a retrace back to 127, 128 and watch that hold. At the bare minimum, like that's the only time I would even remotely consider going long here, unless of course I see a massive breakout and then come back and retest, you know, something like that. But like, yeah, again, here, limbo land, man, limbo land. This is not it. Up here, obvious. Here, obvious. Here, not obvious. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's okay. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.